Thank you for watching today. I wanted to cover a second generation Blink XT cameras. So if you're in the market for wireless battery operated cameras, then you might want to stay and watch the rest of this video. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe and hit that notification icon so you'll be notified of new content. I've been a long-time user of the Blink camera system. This isn't a sponsored video. I'm only talking about these because I truly like the system. When I was evacuated last year during the Sadler Ridge fires in Southern California, my security cameras went down despite being on a UPS due to prolonged outages and my PC's inability to automatically reboot once the power was restored. Fortunately for me, I had one of these XT cameras installed, and that's the only thing that actually worked that I could actually go in and take a look at what was going around the house. I couldn't see much because there was only one camera, but at least I had the ability to check on things. So after that excursion, it became painfully obvious that I need to have more of these cameras to cover more areas, as well as to provide some redundancy in case something like that ever happens again. I want to be able to see what's going on. Even if you have an existing security system like I do, I believe these cameras have a real value in that you can add a little bit different functionality and get some redundancy to your overall system. Personally, I think these things are great, and whether it's your first camera or you're supplementing your current system. So with that said, let's cover some of the specs and features in case you're not familiar with the XT cameras, so you can kind of get a better idea of what they're all about. So let's talk about the hardware real quick. These are the basic kit. You can buy this as a single camera, double camera, or triple camera. Come with one module that you see here. This is actually a what they call a sync module. Basically has a USB port, a micro USB for power, and that's about it. Its intent is to actually take the signals from your cameras and then route them into your network and also communicate with the cloud. So it's a kind of a wireless bridge, for lack of a better way to put it. These have really remained unchanged. So if you have an existing XT system, this particular module is exactly the same, and you can add X2 cameras or second generation Blink cameras to these without any problem at all. So you can increase your existing system. You don't have to replace the whole thing, so you can just do the add-on cameras. It also comes with 1, 2, or 3 of these cameras, which is the actual Blink camera. There's not much to these. You have their sensor and lens on the outside, and you have a mounting mechanism on the back, and that comes with this mounting kit here. So you can optionally mount the device to the mounting pad or the mounting hardware, and then in turn take the mounting hardware and basically can screw it in to the wall or wherever you need to. So it's very simple mount. It's pretty easy to mount just about anywhere. And of course there's no wires, so that makes it nice. The second generation camera has been improved in a couple different ways over the first gen. The main thing is that you get double the battery life. So the first generation kind of hovered around a year or so. This will actually get you close to 2 years under normal conditions. Now if you're hitting live view all the time, which is a feature we'll get into later, that's going to change the dynamics a little bit because you're going to use up more battery. But under normal trigger or motion sensing recording type scenario, it will last quite a bit of time. One of these cameras, actually the only one I had prior to this kit, was actually covering my front street and my front porch so that I could see when people actually walked up to my front door. And I get probably 2 to 3 deliveries a day, and it's lasted forever. The same set of batteries has been running since I installed it just prior to the fire. So it's excellent battery life. To think about doubling that for the second generation is quite a feat. They're indoor-outdoor cameras, so you can mount them outside, just like I have. I actually have mine outside. This new for the second generation or the Blink XT2 is the two-way audio, so you can actually communicate back and forth with whoever's standing in front of your camera. One of the features that I think is really cool, it's you get a free cloud service, so it's not infinite storage, but they give you quite a bit, given that it doesn't cost anything. And your recordings go up to the cloud, and you can draw on them anytime you want. It's integrated into the app, which we'll get into in a little bit, and you can kind of see what's happening. You'll see what triggered the motion sensing and so on. Now, one thing I want to clarify before we get too far, these are not live 24/7 cameras like you might have with your existing security system. These are triggered on motion, and it's probably the best motion sensing I've ever actually seen work. They are, in my opinion, it's the best motion sensing, and it actually can be tuned pretty decently so that you can get not a lot of false triggers going up and taking up all your cloud storage. They did add in the second generation the ability to use live view, so you can actually go into the camera and say, show me what's going on in real time, just like you would with a regular security camera. That isn't the normal mode, but it's a mode that you can actually activate. And of course, they're really easy to set up, and we'll get into that here in just a minute. I just wanted to kind of give you an overview of the actual kit. Now, there's some cable. There's a USB cable, micro USB cable that comes with this, which I don't have in front of me here, but they all kind of look the same. So let's walk through the setup and the configuration and kind of show you what it looks like overall, so you can get a better idea of how this thing works. Let's go ahead and see what it takes to set one of these up, and let's take a look at all the features and options that are available to us, including a couple of changes that have been added for the second generation. And I'll kind of point those out because I actually have one of the original ones and then two of the new second generations on the system. But obviously the first thing you need to do is download and install the Blink app, which I'm not going to walk through right now, and create your account. It'll walk you through creating the account and giving your system, or creating a home system that you can give a name to, because you can have multiple locations, multiple systems on the account. Now that you've created the account and you've named your system, the very first thing we need to do is to add devices to it. Now, the module, the sync module, is the very first thing you have to add, because all your cameras actually pair up to that or through that. So you need to do that first. Since I already have one, I'm going to skip that part, but the process is actually the same as adding a camera. So I'm going to walk you through that so you can get an idea of how to add a device. All devices are basically added the same way. So let's go ahead and hit the plus sign here. And the first thing it says is, what do you want to add? And again, if you haven't done the sync module first, you're going to walk through exactly the same steps here. So let's go ahead and walk you through adding a device. So the first thing it wants to do is it's going to want you to scan the QR code. Now, the QR code on these cameras is actually inside. You actually have to remove the lid. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and add the QR code. And once it's done add, it says, what do you want to add it to an existing system? So I'm going to click on my home system. It's telling me that before it can be added, the system needs to be disarmed. So I'm going to go ahead and click disarm. It's now searching for my camera. Okay, and it says camera successfully added. So I'm going to hit done. Now, if you see the little movie screen down here, if you tap on that little movie icon down here, and you go ahead and tap on that, it's going to log into the camera and actually show you what it's seeing, which is the side of my desk here. And you can see down here there's a push to talk button, so if you hold that down you can actually talk to the camera in a two-way communication. So I'm going to go ahead and close this, and let's go back home. Let's explore some of the options in the camera. So the first thing we're going to do is rename it. I'm just going to call it camera 2 for now. And if you see, it's showing me the battery status, the temperature. It's showing me that the motion detection is enabled. And one of the cool things you can do here is actually set zones. So if I want to set, let's say, just the center zone here as my motion detection, I can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and click on done. Okay, so we've set the motion. You can see the symbology there. It's showing you basically where you've set the zones. You can set a retrigger time. sensitivity you can play with to get it to not false trigger on you. The clip length, now you can go anywhere from 5 seconds to 60 seconds, but obviously the longer the clip, the longer, the more battery life it takes. So I've usually set about 15 to 20 seconds, and I find that that works for me. You can make it longer. It depends how many times it triggers. And again, you're talking about a 2-year battery life. So whatever you end up doing is, you know, even if it reduces the battery life a little bit, it's not going to be a huge impact. And they have a new beta version here called Early Clip, which is kind of nice, because what that does is basically it tells you, it gives you instant notification when the trigger's been activated, and it allows you to respond real time. So basically what you're looking at here is almost like a Ring camera. So when it triggers, you can instantly interact with the camera and do the two-way audio or whatever it is that you want to do, or just view what's going on. IR controls, I usually leave on auto, and the default for IR sensitivity is medium, and again you can change that based on your particular environment, and you can choose to enable or disable the microphone. Now that's a really cool option to be able to do. And then you can set your quality. The default is best, and that seems to work for me. That's about it. It shows you the camera signal strength and the camera to module signal strength and the current firmware version. So basically that's all the features you have. Now I'm going to go ahead and save this. I want to show you one of the older cameras just as a point of reference, and it's very, very similar. So if we go to my front door camera, which is actually a generation 1 camera, you can kind of see how I've got everything set up in terms of clip length and all that. But you notice down at the bottom, the beta features, the instantaneous reaction, and the two-way audio features are gone. You can enable the microphone, but it's a one-way communication. You don't have that interactive experience with the camera that you have on the second generation. Not typically a big deal, but you know, depending on your application, but it is something to consider once you decide to put any of these in. So you can, like I have here, mix and match these things. It's not really a problem. So I haven't actually mounted these yet because I just got them. So I just wanted to kind of run through basically the process of adding a camera and creating, you know, a system. Kind of gives you an overview of the capabilities of it. I'm going to go ahead and move this camera to a wider view so you can get an idea of kind of what it looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and hit live view on this camera, and I've moved it to my living room just to give you an idea of basic wide view of the lens. So let's go ahead and hit the little video icon, and you'll see in just a moment it picks up quite a bit of the room. That's a pretty large room, and it's basically picked up the whole thing. And as you can see, it's actually very clear. It comes in, and I have the push to talk, so if I wanted to actually say something I could. I actually have the speaker up on top disabled. Don't want to hear the background noise right now. So that gives you an overview of the Blink system, and the second generation kind of gives you an idea of kind of what was improved in the system over generation 1. So I hope that helps. Hope it gives you a better idea of how great the system is. And if you're in the market for a wireless camera system, this is definitely one of the ones you should consider looking at. There are some nice ones out there, but I've just had better luck with this in terms of performance, battery life primarily. I've tried other systems where the battery life was just atrocious, and you end up either recharging or replacing batteries far too often. So for me, this is much better in terms of set it and forget it. Which is what I'm really after here. Anyway, I hope that helps. Hope you've enjoyed the video. And as always, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe and hit that notifications icon so you'll be notified of future content. We'll see you on the next video.